decision that needs to be made this offseason, it lands on the shoulders of the Bears GM, and that's going to be what to do with the number one overall pick. So, while the Chiefs are trying to plot their third straight Super Bowl, the Bears, who passed on Mahomes, are still trying to figure out their quarterback situation. And here are their choices, RC. Number one is they take Caleb Williams, who's the consensus number one overall pick in the mainstream media. So that's the safe choice. That's the choice that would probably give Bears fans a lot of comfort and not put the GM under fire. So that's one. The second is trade down from that pick, and you either take a different quarterback and get back a king's ransom for that number one overall pick, or you keep the quarterback you have in Justin Fields. RC, now you're the Bears GM. What do you do in this situation?
Let me. If I'm the Bears GM, I'm going to make you the Bears owner. And if, as the Bears controlling owner, if the Bears, regardless of who the quarterback is, if the Bears don't make the playoffs, are you going to fire me and the head coach?
No, well, can I be a normal owner? If I'm the Bears owner, right? Like, I'm probably not rational. I want to see results right away. And yeah, if you give me a Bryce Young, you're probably gone.
Well, if you're considering the position that the GM polls and the head coach Eberflus, who looked like he was going to get fired around week 5, 6, 7 last year, and then Poles was under fire for all of it as well, when the Bears were 0-4 to start, 1-5 at a certain point. You were so close to flushing the head coach, and then probably had to think this general manager's on the ropes, because yes, trading the number one pick ended up making sense, but it would have been a whole lot better if you kept the pick and took CJ Stroud instead of being a moron that just followed the mainstream that would have took Bryce Young.
I will give RC Poles some credit. I'm going to give GM RC credit for not going with Bryce Young. Yeah. I know we missed on Stroud, but I think missing on Stroud, as great as he is, I think that's better than taking Young. Like, I will rank that decision of passing on Young higher than missing on Stroud.
So I will say this. If I was the Bears owner, if you injected me as the owner in February, like now, a year ago, if you made me the owner and I sat down to have my meeting with Ryan Poles, and he said, I would simply ask him one question. If you had a choice at quarterback, regardless that we have Justin Fields or not, if we were an expansion team, whatever situation you want to put, you had to take a quarterback at number one, and your choice was Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, who would you recommend that we take? If he would have said Bryce Young, I would have fired him on the spot and replaced him. So, that aside, if the Bears stumble out of the gates again, fair to say that the coach is going to get fired?
Especially if it's the defense that's causing the issues and he's a defensive guy. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think
so. He's definitely under the gun. If they stumble out of the gates, of which you're the GM that backed them, didn't pull the trigger on them in 2023 when it was getting ugly. So you backed them, you stuck with them, and now we're a disaster again. Maybe so. Now I'm making you fire Eberflus because I'm mad as the owner. The season winds up 7-10. Would you say that the GM is then on the hot seat for 2025?
Absolutely.
So I'm looking at this as like the Bears' power structure, Eberflus and Poles, are on some level of thin ice. They don't have the luxury to take Caleb Williams and hope this thing works out. Because even if they took Caleb Williams, do you think that a rookie quarterback, like he better be CJ Stroud, and he's not even close. Unless you got CJ Stroud, which is almost a once in a lifetime thing, maybe it's going to be the new norm, but if you get Caleb Williams, you're basically saying we're not making the playoffs in 2024. We're almost rebuilding. You got to give me a 2 or 3 year leash. If the owner was willing to do that, if the owner said, hey, if you guys believe in Caleb Williams, as long as I see progress, I won't hold it against you that you invested in our future. They can say that, but if Caleb Williams goes out and looks like Bryce Young or something close to it, and they go 4-13,
they're out.
And Justin Fields goes to Atlanta and wins the NFC South, they're all gone. So the worst thing of all the things that they could do is switch off of a known commodity like Justin Fields, who I'm not a big fan of, but I'm not radically against him. You went 4-2 to end the season. You were one of the better teams in the NFL to end the season. I maintain that they were better than the Detroit Lions at the end of the season. That if we started the season all over again, starting in Thanksgiving, and played a magical 17 game season from there, that the Bears would have won the division with Kirk Cousins out, with the rosters the way that they were, that they would have beat out the Lions and they would have won that division. So it's not like Justin Fields. You can't say, well, Justin Fields is not a winner. All of a sudden, Justin Fields was finding a way to win. I mean, they walloped Detroit. They beat Minnesota when it was important to beat Minnesota. It was a good team down the stretch. It has hope. If you're the coach, why would you want to break up that continuity? You finally think you're getting somewhere with Fields. The connection with DJ Moore is working. Your defense is starting to click. This Bears team intact has to be seen as a playoff team. But if they don't, they're all going to get fired. But if you bring Caleb Williams into it, you're definitely not making the playoffs. You're at risk of making that decision, and Caleb Williams better be money in the bank, and he's not. So they're all going to get fired if Caleb Williams stinks when they bring him in. Of all of the outs that they have, all the way they can play their cards, the best way for them to play their cards is stick with what they know, get more draft picks for this, get more players that can plug right in and play right away. Don't get draft picks, and I mean they'll get some 2025 draft picks, but load up on 2024 draft picks. Or when you get a 2025 first rounder with your 2024 first rounder from whatever team, you can then turn around and wheel that for a player. Or you only deal with a team that's got multiple picks in the first round that they'll give you something to build this. If you're the Bears, you have got to get to the playoffs this year. And I think the best way to do that is with Justin Fields and multiple draft picks that they can fill in the blanks of whatever they think that the blanks are that need to be filled in.
But if I'm the Bears owner, RC, and I see someone like CJ Stroud change life in Houston, aren't I saying, look, you guys missed on not Poles wasn't there when they missed on Mahomes, but our franchise hasn't had a definitive answer at QB since probably like the 60s. Was it like Sid Luckman? I don't know if I got his name right or whatever. That was probably the best quarterback they had in franchise history. But I mean, now they have a person getting comps to Caleb. And I know you don't believe he's that guy, but I don't know if Poles and Eberflus and the Bears, the people making decisions within the Bears, don't see this guy as you're comping him to Mahomes, and Stroud just went crazy last year. Why wouldn't we invest in this guy?
I go back to the meeting that I have if I'm the owner. I have to sit down with the GM and go, what do you think we need to do? Tell me how good Caleb Williams is. If his career is going to be tied to Caleb Williams one way or the other. If he says, I don't think Caleb Williams is that good, I was reading reports off of Fantasy Football Metrics, and I just don't think Caleb Williams is the guy, we might as well trade this pick, and I don't think there's any alternative worth it, so we should get more draft picks to get more players. And Caleb Williams goes on to get drafted by whoever and is great, is the next Mahomes. He's done. If he has a CJ Stroud season, then Poles is done because he would have missed out on two opportunities. He would have missed out on Stroud and he would have missed out on Caleb Williams. So Ryan Poles better think Caleb Williams is it. He better know that for sure, because if he passes on him, it could come back to burn him. But if he endorses it, if he goes, we're going all in on Caleb Williams because I know he's great, and he comes in and he sucks, they're done. They're all gone. Eberflus first, Poles second.
So, RC, I think when I frame this question to you, I want to revise it. I want to revise the setting. Let's say you're the owner GM. You're making this decision for the betterment of the Chicago Bears. Your job is completely safe. You can never be fired. In your opinion, what do you do with that pick?
I trade it for more picks. I try to get, and one of those picks has got to have me in the top 5, 6, 7, 8, because I think there are a couple elite players in this draft, more on defense. I don't think there's an elite quarterback in this group. So if I'm the quarterback, or if I'm the GM forever, if I'm Jerry Jones, I trade the first pick, and I also trade Justin Fields, because I know I'm not going anywhere with either one of them, with either the quarterback from this draft at number 1 or Justin Fields. And I'm not going to pay Justin Fields. Like, I'll keep him around for another year at his payroll cost, but I will take whatever I need to do to trade. I'll see if Tennessee will trade me Will Levis, and I will try to see what else I can get for that number 1 or for Fields. I'll give you Fields for Will Levis. I'll give you the number 1 draft pick for Will Levis and your draft pick, Tennessee. You can have Caleb Williams. He's so exciting. He's so Mahomes-like. You want that. So if I'm the GM for the Bears for life, fans aren't going to be happy about it, but I'm going to bust the whole thing up, because we ain't winning a Super Bowl with Fields, and we ain't winning a Super Bowl with Caleb Williams or Drake May or Jaden Daniels for that matter. So I will punt and look for quarterback help someplace else.
I like that. But if there was a hypothetical trade between Tennessee and Chicago, just using last year as the comp, right, where Chicago in essence traded from 1 down to 9 with Carolina when they moved up, they essentially got 3 first-round picks. They got 2 future ones, and they also got DJ Moore, who was considered to have first-round value in that package. Now, if you're talking about somebody that has the Mahomes comp, and I think Tennessee's picking at 11 or 12, you might be looking, and this is why I love the trade down scenario, you might be looking at a historically great compensation package, like 5 first-round picks or something like that. I don't think we've ever seen a trade of that magnitude. I don't know if you're even allowed to trade out that far into the future, but we might see something like that if the Bears decide to trade down.
I was looking at Chicago's got the 1 and the 9. So if I could somehow have 2 top 10 picks and not take a quarterback if I'm the Bears and get all other kinds of stuff for my number 1 like they did last year. But I want 2, if I can get 2 top 10 picks in this year's draft to get a hold of some of these defensive players, especially that are in there, and then have a bunch of second and thirds to get load up on those wide receivers that are going to fly right under the radar because they can't all go in the first round. That's the route that I would go if I was the Bears GM.